because I was born with one arm, with my left arm only. And in fact, when I was born, these two fingers were joined together, and when I was 4, they split them apart and skin grafted them. So consequently, I've got sort of small but chubby fingers and one arm. So playing guitar can sometimes be a bit fiddly.
Come on, boy. Yeah!
Well, obviously I'm a guitarist, but first and foremost, I'm a songwriter. And one of the first songs I ever wrote was when I was about 7 years old, and I was at the piano. I couldn't play guitar at that point, and I just used 2 fingers on the piano going up and down the scales. And it was a song in my head which was a bit like David Bowie's Space Oddity, about a spaceman that goes up into space. Something goes wrong with the rocket, and then it drifts off into space, and then he's lost forever. And it was literally just playing up and down the piano on the scales that gave me this song in my head. And for me, it was like a door that opened, because it enabled me to sort of paint pictures with music. It told a story in my head.
What it takes, yes, you've got what it takes to breathe, to breathe. You've got what it takes, yes, you've got what it takes to breathe, to breathe, to breathe, yeah. Breathe on.
And then I had these songs in my head as a child. I used to sing them to myself, but I couldn't play the guitar. I could play a little bit on the piano, and I wanted to be like the Beatles, because the Beatles were the big thing for me when I was a child. And I remember getting my mum's old Spanish guitar out and seeing, how can I play this? And I put it on the floor, and I tried to play with my feet first of all, and I thought, oh no, that doesn't work at all, no. And then a combination of my hand and my foot and holding the strings down and playing there, and it looked all wrong. And I thought, I was so into the Beatles, I thought, this doesn't look anything like the Beatles, I'm not going to do it, So I kind of gave up in a way, but I still had these songs going around in my head. And even at the age of 10 and 11 and 12, I was writing these pop songs. I could hear all the instruments, I could hear the vocals and everything, but I had no means of recording it or playing it, performing it. And it wasn't until I was about 14 that I started playing my mother's Spanish guitar, and I've found a way of playing with my thumb, playing on the string, and then holding my finger down to hold the notes down and playing up and down like that. And I played a kind of bass lines, really. And that was a breakthrough for me. That was like, oh wow, I can do that, great. But then I soon got bored with that, and then eventually I found a way of playing chords, sort of cheating on chords in a way, just using 2 fingers to hold down the strings and playing across. And that was great, because then I could start, playing guitar, and I found a way of recording at home through a pair of headphones, because I couldn't afford a microphone on pocket money. And I'd record my own guitar playing and my own songs onto cassette, and it was great from a songwriting point of view. Suddenly I had my songs on cassette that I could share with the world.
Come on, but baby, do you wanna go to that place that I love, sweet home Chicago?
So I'd say I'm a songwriter first, a guitarist second, and a vocalist third, really. Songwriting is a big thing for me. That's my reason for doing all this.
Just because I never cried doesn't mean that I'm not dying inside. Doesn't mean that you can twist that knife for the rest of your life.
So when I was 15, I was recording my own songs. I was playing chords, but I didn't know what chords they were. I couldn't read or write music, as I still don't today. But I decided to join my sister, who was having guitar classes at a local college. And I went along and I met this guy, Roger Sutcliffe, who was running these guitar classes for, you know, beginners and for intermediate players. And it was great because when I walked in there and he took one look at me and said, "How the bloody hell am I going to show you anything?" And I was playing guitar, obviously, you know, one-handed, and he was like, I said, "You just play and I'll watch you, and then I'll pick up and see, you know, see if I can pick anything up," which I did. And it was great because he showed me all the blues stuff, the blues licks and ragtime blues playing and everything. And that really, again, opened another door for me in songwriting, because suddenly there was this whole world of blues, which I loved. And that was great. And then when I was about in my early 20s, I moved down to London. And after about a year of sort of, you know, being in and out of love and the pains of love, I decided, you know, enough of love. Let's concentrate. Let's get back to the music.
With love. This next song is a sort of a ditty that I'm often requested to play. It's sort of my novelty song. And it's about love and pizza. Funny enough. Which is rather appropriate, isn't it? And anyway, it's called Pepperoni Girl. Without a dinner, she's mad and I can't win her. All the time I've become the sinner. Think I'll go out and find what's new here. Oh, when I'm sad and lonely, I see my pepperoni girl. Pepperoni girl. She's always good to me, with a slice of ecstasy, as she offers another slice, just to spice up my life, oh yeah.
So I decided to get a rock band together. In the past, I tried to get rock bands together when I was at school and college, but most people just wanted to sit around and think of funny names for the band, like the Electric Cabbage Orchestra, rather than actually writing music, which really frustrated me. In fact, I was in a rock band for nearly 20 years. And I got some like-minded musicians to come and join me, and we were originally the Poppy Heads. This is back in the early 90s. And we were sort of a slightly trippy 60s band, and all doing our own original music. And that was good. Over the years, we had different personnel joining the band and different names. We had Kinda Wonderful and Slinky Malinky was one of our names. Super Smiler, Nelson Romeo.
Everybody needs a rhythm when you're dancing without me. There's a bullet with your name on. You're anything I've been. Nothing is wrong.
Whilst we were auditioning for a drummer, we had a female drummer, Jackie, and she became sort of my songwriting partner in a way. And for the next 18 years, we were sort of like, you know, band partners, really. At one point, we were managed by the legendary Gus Dudgeon, who produced a lot of Elton John's hits. And unfortunately, Gus died in 2002. But he was very much into the band, and you know, who knows what would have happened if he'd stayed alive.
Nothing is nothing. Nothing is nothing. Nothing.
So about 4 or 5 years ago, moved out of London into Surrey, into the country a bit more, into where we are now. And I found sort of being in the band and you know, having to stay late and for gigs and things and working as well, because I work full-time at the BBC as well, that it was very difficult to juggle all of those commitments. And so I decided to go solo, and I did gigs around here. I did a gig in Guildford, and it was very scary, that first gig on my own, because I'd had 20 years of people around me. I was just playing guitar and singing backing vocals in the band. Suddenly it was just me, naked, not naked, but you know, me, guitar, voice, that's it. And it was very scary, but it was also very exciting. And then I realised, you know, I could write a song here and then the next week be performing it myself, you know, because without the need to go through lots of rehearsals with other people and that, it became a lot of a more simpler process of, you know, songwriting and then performing it. And I love it. I, you know, really enjoy now. It's given me a new lease of life, performing solo. There's a guy who lives locally, he's a full-time musician, Vic Cracknell, and he's like a musical impresario of the area where we live. He basically sets up all, you know, these gigs where you can go along and perform 3 or 4 songs. And so you meet different performers and you get to sing your stuff each week. And it's great because it provides people with an opportunity to go out there and perform who otherwise wouldn't, and just, you know, would stay at home singing the songs to themselves, you know. The kind of audiences that we get at these open mic gigs are, you know, you get young and old people who are into different genres of music. So it's a really nice eclectic mix of people. And you also have young and old performers as well. And what's really refreshing is you've got 14, 15-year-old kids who are playing, you know, acoustic blues and acoustic folk music, and that's really refreshing. And there's 2 people that spring to mind, like M.A. and Leo Diamond are 2 local people who are, you know, they're young people who really enjoy kind of acoustic music, and that's great. That's got to be a good thing. When I'm performing, I still collaborate occasionally with people, because I do get people joining me on stage, so to speak. There's a couple of friends of mine, Phil Thorpe, who plays blues harp, and Paul Stone, who also plays cajon, the box drum thing. And I often get them to join me for the end of the set so we can do some raunchy blues numbers and things, and that's great. So in a way, I'm still sort of occasionally playing in that sort of band format. But a lot of my songs are sort of, as I say, like blues ballads and things. So, you know, at least half of my set does tend to be just me and my guitar.
I used to love you from the heart. That's when the pain inside my brain began to start. I was a wild man in a rage. Instead of loving me, baby, you locked me in a cage. So I'm gonna kick down that door, get back on the road again, yeah. I'm gonna kick down that door, get back on the road again, yeah. I was a fighter, you know it's true. But baby, you made me do things I didn't wanna do. You just abuse me, it never ends. Parade me around like some trophy to your friends. Well, I'm gonna kick down that door, get back on the road again, yeah. I'm gonna kick down that door, get back on the road again. Yeah, kick it.
As well as playing in London occasionally and around this area in southern England, I've also played gigs in Romania. I was invited to play a few blues clubs in Bucharest, which was great. And also over in Kosovo, where a friend of mine has organised this Flow Festival, which is a sort of a literature and music festival by this lake in Kosovo. And so I've played there a few years, and that's really lovely. That's great to go out there. And in Pristina as well, I've played a few student clubs and things, and the response I get out there is amazing, you know. And it's great that you can play blues and, you know, your own original songs in different countries. It's great.
Broke free if your loving rains. So I'm gonna kick down that door, get back on the road again.
One big festival here locally is Wayfest, which I've played 3 years running in the acoustic hall. It's like a little scout hut, and that's really nice. And quite excitingly, this year I'm going to be playing on a stage outside, so that's really good. And that was really with the support of friends, and also the local press was sort of saying Mark should play a bigger stage next year. So through that, this year I'm playing a bigger stage. That's exciting. I also played a festival out in Pusey a few years ago, and it was through friends of mine, and I went along. There was an acoustic stage competition where it's like a battle of the bands thing, and I entered for it and just thought, oh, I'll go along, it'll be a bit of fun. And I was the first one to perform midday. And then I sort of relaxed and watched the rest of the acts at the festival, and was drinking beer and having a great time in the sun. And then at 7 o'clock in the evening, they announced the winner of the battle of the acoustic acts, and it was me. I was the winner, and I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. And so it meant that my prize was to have 10 minutes on the main stage, like the big rock stage, you know. So I could play 2 songs on there, and I was like, oh wow. So I thought I better sober up, you know, I had lots of coffee. And this is like, I was going on at 10 o'clock at night, and the band that was on before me was a thrash metal band. So there was all this smoke, everyone's moshing and jumping up and down, and everyone's lively, and they're really heavy rock music. And the guy who's just about to introduce me on stage, you know, and I'm going to do my 2 acoustic numbers, you know, was like, oh, I'm sure you'll be all right, but there was a slight worried look in his eye. And I was a bit worried as well. I was like, how do I follow this? So it got to the moment, and I got on stage. And once I'm on stage, I'm fine, which is weird. It's the bit before that I'm kind of like, oh, come on. And once I got my chair out, I sat down and I got my guitar, and the crowd was there. I was like, hello. And it was brilliant. It was they were so responsive, and they were really good. And at the end of it, they said, you know, we really love you, you know. And it was a wonderful moment. And that's the biggest crowd I've played to so far. So that was good.
Get back on the road. Hang on. Where was I going? I was going down the road, that was it. Almost foxes me, that one. Going down the road again. We're going back home.
The music that's influenced me most, I would have to say, well, first and foremost, the Beatles, obviously. In fact, I was at a Beatles concert, believe it or not. I was just an embryo at the time, but I was physically there at a Beatles concert, so I'm very chuffed about that. When I was a child, I used to, you know, walk around with a tennis racket singing Hey Jude, and I just loved the Beatles. They were such a massive influence on me. But also, in later years, blues, you know, the Delta blues, Chicago blues as well. People like Robert Johnson and Reverend Gary Davis, all of those old bluesmen, love their stuff. 60s R&B, I love bands like The Who, The Kinks, Small Faces, very influential on my rock songwriting, as well as obviously rock bands like Led Zeppelin and Cream and Free, people like that, Radiohead. But I also like the balladeers like Nick Drake and Ralph McTell, and I've always loved that sort of acoustic side, love poetry in a way, really. And as someone who I've discovered recently, who I think is a fabulous songwriter and singer, is John Allen. And he's amazing. He's just got, his songs are so catchy and poppy and soul-y, and he's got this kind of voice like Rod Stewart, you know. It's great. I've listened to his 2 albums, and I'm a big fan of his. I think songwriting is very important. Music's very important. It sort of speaks from the soul, it speaks from the heart, and it cuts across languages, and it's such a great means of communicating emotions and feeling. And, you know, I think in this day and age, in any day, well, I think in any day and age, it's very important. music plays an important part in lifting people's emotions, you know, or even enhancing them. If you're feeling down, you know, you put on a blues track and it just makes you feel even worse. Or you put on something and it just lifts you out of your mood. You know, it's a very powerful tool, and there's nothing finer than, you know, I can be sat here on a Saturday afternoon writing a song that just pops into my head, and then the next week I'm playing it live in front of people, and people are responding and going, "Oh wow, that's a great song." There's no feeling on earth like that. It's just wonderful to be able to share that kind of what you're thinking and what you're feeling. It's brilliant. My family and friends have always supported me, which is great. And also my wife, Anna, I mean, she supports me all the time. And she helped me through making that difficult decision of leaving the band after so long and going solo, which was a very difficult decision. But she always supports me, and, you know, I'm always locked away, either writing songs or recording songs, or, you know, far away thinking about lyrics. So she's very patient and very understanding. So that's really nice. That's cool. Wish you were here as I think of your life. Wish you could see all the things that I go through, keep your memory alive. You're just a face I put on you. Wish I could tell right from wrong, but I can't, 'cause I've not got a clue. Count down the days for you to come back. You're still here in my head. Wish you were here and I was with you. Long for the times that we spent all alone, I'm counting on you. Count down the months, you to come back. You're still here in my song. Say to me, must let you go. You and I know better than that, 'cause I won't let you go. I wish you were here and I was with you. Long for the passion, love in your eyes to help see me through. Now count down the years, you to come back. You're still here in my heart. And I wish you were here. I think music is so important, and if anyone out there has, you know, a penchant or a desire to play music, I'd say yes, go ahead, do it. It's never too late to do something like that. And, you know, to be able to pick up an instrument and play and just express those emotions is so important. You don't have to be a virtuoso. You don't have to be, you know, like 1,000 notes a second, that sort of thing. Whilst that's technically brilliant and impressive, for me, what I love to hear and see is someone who plays with feeling, especially with blues or even ballads, you know. To play with feeling is so important. So, you know, go out there and do your thing. I think it's really, really important. Keep the faith. And I wish you were here.